don't you cry!
Palestine will never die! Palestine, don't you cry! Palestine will never die! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free!
Let's go to the sea.
بالدم نبتدي أقصى الروح بالدم تيجي أقصى Free, free Palestine!
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 Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free
فلسطين حرية!
Not another nickel, not another dime! Not another nickel, not another dime! No more money for Israel's crime! No more money for Israel's crime! Not another nickel, not another dime! Not another nickel, not another dime! No more money for Israel's crime! No more money for Israel's crime! Not another nickel, not another dime! Not another nickel, not another dime! No more money for Israel's crime! No more money for Israel's crime! Not another nickel, not another dime! Not another nickel, not another dime! No more money for Israel's crime!
All right. We're gonna start with our speakers. Our first speaker is a Palestinian poet. Give it up for Nadine. Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Thank you guys for listening. To the olive tree branches and the blood-filled roots of Palestine, I give this poem. Dear homeland, I give you this ink, these blue lifelines, between my stanzas. Dear homeland, I give you these words in place of the silence Israel has forced upon you. My grandmother tells me of the day she swung on playground swings, how going back and forth felt like time travel, how she watched your blue-colored skies turn crimson, like God was pleading with you, like you were bleeding for him. Allah held back the rain like he was holding back tears, held back the rain so he wouldn't wash away your agony, held back the rain because there was already too much here. Tears and blood falling on your holy ground towns that only ever rain ash. She tells me how houses became mausoleums, how front lawns turned into graveyards one explosion at a time. She tells me how our bodies became treasures, how Israelis became bloodthirsty pirates, how they claimed these Arabian oceans, forced our people to make their own tear-filled rivers, slit their throats so the current would run faster. She tells me how they hung our children's bodies like chandeliers, made their angels shine over your towns, their blood water your trees, how the cinders of carcasses fed your soil. You have been inheriting our debt since the genesis of this genocide. Dear homeland, I want to save you from this story. I want to tell my Sunday children to not have fear in their bones, to have a whole party with their ancestors in between their bones, to let them hold this red, white, green, and black flag like they know it survived the genocide, that when the world hears their voices, they'll believe in the supernatural, they'll get chills from the ghosts in their dialect, that every time one of my children speaks, it'll feel like their ancestors resurrected in victory. Until then, I beg of you to hold on, to close your ears to the explosions, to only feel the fire within me and witness the blessings within you. Dear homeland, I promise I will one day build a swing set underneath your olive tree branches, and my Sunday children and I will go time traveling through the essence of survival, and we'll smile at the small streams our people have left, and God will finally let his tears fall, like he's been saving them for us all along.
What's good, everybody? My name is Muhammad. I'm here on behalf of Philly BDS, also a member of the Philly Muslim Freedom Fund. The first time I went to Palestine, I was 17 years old. It was the first time I got to see that oppression face to face. I remember being interrogated for 8 hours at the airport. I remember going to Nabi Sallah, where I met the people in Nabi Sallah who protest every day on Friday, called Good Friday. They protest every day because they're protesting for the resources that Israel has stolen with the illegal settlements all throughout the West Bank. When I went to Palestine, when I was in Nabi Sallah, I remember meeting a woman who had a garden. Her garden was filled with grenades, and outside of the grenades, she was growing these little plants. I think this speaks to the spirit of the Palestinian people. People who have so much resistance, so much spirit, so much humility, and embrace everybody with love. But they're not embraced back. I'm Bangladeshi, I'm actually not Palestinian. But I want y'all to know I'm sitting here with solidarity. And I know my other Bengali people here in solidarity too. So when I met the Palestinian people in the West Bank, what they told me about BDS, boycott, divestment, sanctions. It's a movement that is called upon by Palestinian civil society. And it requires us that we boycott Israeli companies, divest from their banks, and sanction the state of Israel. We are directly responsible for every single thing that happens in Palestine, every single fucking thing. is to end all occupation and colonization of East Jerusalem, the West Bank, Golan Heights, and Gaza. It wants to end the apartheid war. The second pillar of BDS is recognizing the fundamental rights of every single Palestinian in what we call Israeli proper. But we all know that shit's called Palestine. The third pillar is respecting the right of every single Palestinian who was exiled from their homes during the Nakba. Some 7 million people now in the diaspora, the biggest refugee population in the world. We demand their right to return. So it is imperative that we divest our dollars from the military-industrial complex that further perpetuates every single day the violence, the death, the oppression of Palestinian people, our brothers, our sisters, our lovers, our community members across the ocean. We want to center these people. So we have to divest and we have to avoid companies like HP that supplies them with tech to track Palestinian people at checkpoints. We have to oppose G4S that surveillance people in the prisons and supply all the shit that they have in the prisons is from G4S. So we say fuck G4S, fuck HP, fuck Caterpillar for bulldozing Palestinian homes. On that note, I would be remiss if I didn't bring into power a deceased elder who we draw from in this movement, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela says, apartheid is the crime against humanity. Israel has deprived millions of Palestinians of their liberty and property. It has perpetuated a system of gross racial discrimination and inequality. It has systemically incarcerated, tortured thousands of Palestinians contrary to international law. Not just Palestinians, but Palestinian children. Every day, mothers bury their sons. Every day, fathers say goodbye to their daughters. Lovers can't see each other because of the apartheid war. We say no to that shit. Fuck that shit. We're here in solidarity. Love for Philly.
All right, next up, we have Palestinian author Suzanne Abalawa. Please welcome her.
Assalamu alaikum. So, the media is talking about Palestine now, and they will have you believe it's because of a flare-up. They will have you believe that there's an increase in the violence. But the truth is, this violence happens every day against Palestinians. Every day, a Palestinian home is demolished, or somebody gets a demolition order, or a confiscation order. Every day, they're kidnapping our children, and our fathers, and our grandfathers, and our mothers, and they're throwing them in jail without charge or trial, and they're torturing them. Every day, they're stealing our water. Every day, they're stealing our land, our heritage, our culture, our history. Every day, they are demolishing our cemeteries, appropriating our history, and destroying our archaeology. They want to get rid of us. This has been the plan from day one of Zionism. So the real reason that the media and the world is now talking about Palestine is because we're fighting back. It's only when we fight back that anybody gives us any attention. So what are we going to do? Fight back! We're going to fight back and we're going to keep fighting back. Palestinians, no matter where we are, whether we're in 1948 lands, in 67 lands, in Jerusalem, in the diaspora, in the Lebanon refugee camps, we are a united people. We are united. Khaybar. All right, here we go. Every Palestinian here has been exiled from their village, from their city in Palestine. Every one of us cannot return because we are not Jewish. Every one of us has a history, a familial history in that land that goes back centuries or millennia. And yet any Jewish person anywhere in the world, no matter where they come from, gets to go there and live and become a citizen and receive U.S. taxpayer subsidies. So, when people talk about both sides compromising or both sides stopping or whatever, you need to understand that this neutrality is siding with the oppressors. People need to take a stand. You need to decide. You need to decide if you are with the colonizer or with the colonized. You need to decide if you are with the oppressor or with the oppressed. You have to decide. You have to decide if you are with a powerful nuclear state or an indigenous, principally unarmed civilian population. It's very, very, very simple. It is not complicated. It is not ancient. It's a 73-year-old colonial project, period. So if you know anybody who has chanted Black Lives Matter or Stop Asian Hate, but then they turn around and talk about both sides need to stop in Palestine, Israel, you tell them they need to scoot on over to the All Lives Matter crowd. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Come on, Suzanne. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Next up, we have Rami Ibrahim.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah. So every protest that I'm invited to speak, I always try to say this statement because it's very important for every Palestinian to remember this. The first president, Ben-Gurion, he said this, and you need to remember it. He said that the old Palestinian people will die and the young people will forget. Every protest, I want to remind this statement because it's our job to continue the word Palestine. It's our job. Many of you guys probably know me as a fighter. I had a lot of problems coming up as a Muay Thai fighter. I represented this country since 1990 as a fighter. I've won more championships than they can count. And the reason why they never talked about it is because I always talk about Palestine. They want to keep it away. They want to pretend like it doesn't exist. They lied before the internet and everything. They used to say that this was a land with no people for a people with no land. You need to remember that. They said it was a land with no people for a people with no land. But how so when your father was born there, and my father was born there, and my grandfather was born there, and so on and so on. That was the one place that the Jews lived in peace. And before it was illegally occupied. When they were being killed everywhere, they only lived peace with us, with the Palestine. So when they try to tell you that this is a religious war, First of all, those two words are lies. It's not a religious or a war. It's just one side killing another side. I bring up the fact that I'm a fighter because whenever you talk about this, you have to know your opponent. Just like as a fighter, you gotta know your opponent. You can't just start taking fights. You gotta know who your enemy is, and you gotta know what he doesn't like about you, and you gotta know the lies that they talk about you. We have to know our history. We have to know when they say, oh, the Jews lived there before us. No, the Arabs were there, Canaanites. We were there before anybody. Before Judaism was even created. But we have to know our history. It's not enough for us to just simply say free Palestine. We have to get closer to Allah. We have to remember why we're here. And you have to remember that this is not a religious war. Why? Because they're not only killing Palestinian Muslims, they're also killing Palestinian Christians and the Palestinian Jews. I'm surprised. This is the first protest that I've been to in Philly that has this many people. And I'm proud of all of you. But wallahi, we should have the entire city of Philadelphia here. Every single Christian. You know why? Because where was Jesus, our beloved prophet, was? Well, where was he born? Specifically in Bethlehem. Who is the people that protect the place of the birth of Jesus? The Palestinians. We protect them. We are one. We have to remember this, and we have to always talk about it. This is a conflict that's been going on for too long. They talk about a two-state solution. How? Imagine I take your house and I take 80% of it and I give you 20%. Are you going to be okay with it? And then that's what they're doing. And then they build illegal settlements on that 20%. So now that 20% that you had, they keep taking more and more and more and more. They're towing cars where the park is. So please, if you don't want your car to be towed, Rittenhouse. Like I said, they're continuing to build illegal settlements. This is what we're talking about. We are okay. We have been okay from the war that has happened. And now we want to just live in peace. But it's no longer okay. Because we see that way didn't matter. Okay, it didn't count. It didn't give us anything. That is why we say from the river to the sea. We want the whole thing. When I take your house, you're not going to be okay with a little bit. You want your whole house back. I want all of Palestine back. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be freed, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Next up, we have Nazia from the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Please give it up.
All right, I'm going to be naming some names here. I've been having this conversation the past few days that always goes this way. It's like, why is the U.S. duped into supporting Israel? Why is the U.S. tricked or strong-armed into this support? Let's be clear. The U.S. is not a reluctant sponsor of Israeli colonialism. The U.S. is an enthusiastic sponsor of Israeli colonialism. This is why Joe Biden said if Israel didn't exist, the United States would go and invent it. The U.S. is not a reluctant sponsor of Israeli colonialism. The U.S. is an enthusiastic sponsor of Israeli colonialism. The forces of capital, of empire, of police violence that motivate Israel, those are the same forces that will motivate the United States. That's why I see so many faces here that just a few weeks ago also took to the streets demanding the freedom of Mumia Abu Jamal. That's why I see the same faces here who took to the streets after the police murder of Dante Wright. The U.S. is not a reluctant supporter of Israeli colonialism. The U.S. is an enthusiastic supporter of Israeli colonialism. Who Who helped Israel in 2002 after that brutal massacre in the refugee camp in Jenin? Who helped Israel block journalists from entering? Who helped Israel block humanitarian observers from entering? USA. USA. The US is not a reluctant supporter of Israeli colonialism. The US is an enthusiastic supporter of Israeli colonialism. And when you turn on the news, when you watch the mainstream media and they happen to have a Palestinian voice speaking truth, it's not because we have a free and open and fair media. When you see a Palestinian speaking truth in the US mainstream media, it's because of this. It is because of the mass resistance in Palestine and around the world that has demanded it. So let me do some calling out. Israel sponsors Muslim Americans to go take tours of Israel, to go take these lavish tours of Israel, and then come back and convince other Muslim Americans to see Israel favorably. This is the MLI, the Muslim Leadership Initiative. And these Muslim Americans go and they come back and they write op-eds and they give lectures about how all we need is dialogue and mutual understanding. Forget the Nakba, forget BDS, forget talking about apartheid, they say. Shame on them. Shame on the corrupt regimes of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates that are tools of US empire, that are tools of Israeli aggression, that have traded in any shred of humanity and dignity. And I'm tired of seeing tweets like what we saw from Biden on Eid, saying Eid Mubarak. What Eid? Just like we saw in 2014 during a massive assault on Gaza. Barack Obama had a Ramadan dinner. He had an iftar. And at this iftar he had Israeli heads of state. During this attack, during this assault, he had a Ramadan dinner. And he dared to say at this iftar, Israel has a right to defend itself. Shame. But we are here. Around the world, we have taken to the streets. This is beautiful. And we all know in our hearts that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Thank you so much. Next up we have Nikki, Palestinian from the Black and Brown Coalition, Philadelphia.
Free, free Palestine! I said free, free, free Palestine! My name is Nikki, I'm part of the Black and Brown Coalition. I want to talk to you today about what it means to be an anti-Zionist. Number one, to be an anti-Zionist is to be an abolitionist. It is to abolish the police and all prisons. Israel and America are settler-colonial states that rely on the police to control us. They do not keep us safe, and that's why we must abolish them. They protect ruling class interests. Our police commissioner, Danielle Outlaw, went to Israel in July of 2018, where she learned murderous tactics to kill, maim, and injure black and brown and indigenous people that were out here last year. Think about it. Monday, May 10th, Israel dropped a bomb in Gaza on a residential building, killing 11 people, or 20 people, 9 of which were children. May they rest in peace. Does that sound familiar? Because 2 days and 36 years ago, the Philadelphia Police Department dropped a bomb on the MOVE headquarters, killing 11 people, 5 of which were children. Police violence here is police violence there, is police violence everywhere. There's a reason they call Gaza the largest open-air prison in the world. There is no exit. They have an embargo. There is no exit by land, air, or sea. There cannot be an occupation without an occupation army. We must abolish the police and abolish the military and abolish all prisons. They criminalize our resistance, like our elder Mumia Abu Jamal, who's been incarcerated for over 40 years. Our comrade, Ant Smith. Free Ant Smith! When I say what's the mission, say abolition! What's the mission? What's the mission? What's the goal?
be an anti-Zionist is to support BDS. Sabra, HP, G4S, and Ben & Jerry's propped up with occupying Palestinian territories. Do you want to give them your money? Boycott! Universities, churches, non-profits like Penn, Drexel, and Temple are invested in Occupied Palestine. Do you want to give them your money? Divest. Israel gives $3.8 billion a year. The U.S. gives $3.8 billion a year to Israel. Do you want to give them your money? Sanction. We must boycott, divest, and sanction, but that is only the floor.
Awesome. Thank you, Nikki. Next up, we got Crystal from Black Lives Matter Philadelphia. Give it up. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! All power to the people! No power to these pigs! No power to these settlers! No power to these Zionists! No power to these... No power to these motherfuckers! My apologies.
There is no...
That was good, Crystal.
Check.
Again.
It's because I curse. Sorry. Alright, there's a bullhorn. I can't use the bullhorn.
Technical difficulties. We'll be right with you in a minute.
Free, free Palestine! 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 Free, free Palestine!
There is no black freedom with Palestinian unfreedom. There is no Palestinian freedom with black unfreedom. Let me say that again. There is no black freedom with Palestinian unfreedom. I'm so glad that the speaker before me mentioned the travesty of May 13th, 1985. We are marking 36 years, almost to the day, of when a city government led by black people dropped a bomb on other black people who were fighting for black freedom, who were fighting for the freedom of all oppressed people. And so if it can happen here, we know that it can happen in Palestine. We know that it can happen anywhere. We are one. The biggest tool of white supremacy is to convince us that our struggles are disconnected. Right? But we know that our struggles are interconnected. Am I right? I was very fortunate in November 2018 to join a delegation of Black Philadelphian organizers and artists and educators who went to Palestine. I know that it is an incredible privilege to be able to visit Palestine when Palestinians are unable to visit their homeland. And so I would like to share some words from my time witnessing in Palestine, if you don't mind. Do you mind? Do you mind? I am leaving Jerusalem thinking most deeply about the contrasts between the wide, well-maintained, and clearly better resourced neighborhoods of West Jerusalem, where the Jewish population lives, and the narrow, more contained, and clearly less resourced neighborhoods of East Jerusalem, which is mostly Palestinian. I am reminded of how the production and occupation of urban space is weaponized to restrict, to erase, to displace, to contain, and to oppress. I met Baba Ali Jida, a proud Afro-Palestinian, resistance leader, political prisoner for 17 years, who reminded us that there are black Palestinians. Let us not erase our black Palestinians. So when you say, what does black liberation have to do with Palestine, you are erasing our Afro-Palestinian brothers and sisters and family members. In Hebron, in the West Bank, I found it to be the most challenging and revealing experience of occupation. You can intellectually understand occupation and settler colonialism, but that will never prepare you to witness its realities. This is what occupation looks like. I encountered a sign on Shuhada Street, once home to a vibrant Palestinian community and is now a heavily policed settlement area. The signage in English and Hebrew revises history to justify the displacement of Palestinians. This is the logic of occupation. We were made to pass through checkpoints and metal detectors and police armed with assault rifles and barricades that people must walk through. I'll try to keep this brief. I know my time is short. In Hebron, in the marketplace where Palestinians have been for generations, I saw the way that Palestinians had to erect fences, overtop their marketplaces, overtop their heads, because settlers above them would throw rocks and bottles and urine and dirty water on them below. Shame. It is a shame. I'll stop now because I know that time is short, but the exact things that black people are fighting against here, political imprisonment, police state, occupation of our communities, the displacement of our communities from our own places that we have been for generations. These are the exact same things that Palestinians are fighting for. Something that we say in our struggle is that, and I hope you will join me in repeating, it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Naziha from the Palestinian Derdablan Scope Charity.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Allahumma salli ala ashraf al-khalq Muhammad, Habibi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We're hearing this over and over, and I hope my non-Arab and non-Muslim friends hear this message loud and clear. You do not need to be Palestinian or Muslim to stand up for justice that Palestinians deserve. All you need to be is a human with a sound heart to stand up against the genocide and ethnic cleansing towards Palestinians. I'm here to talk about something simple, yet many are missing, which is common sense. It's common sense to denounce the killing of any child. Common sense will tell me that a rocket that hits a residential building full of innocent women, children, elderly, and it gets demolished with everything and everyone in it without any notice, this is immorally wrong. Common sense tells me so. A Palestinian woman getting raped, and then an IDF soldier boasting about it through a post is sick. Holy places for worshippers are being bombed. How can the world be silent? Before, when Israel would commit these atrocities, it would be hidden from the world, and with the help of the media, of course, brainwash the public with a narrative that this is complicated and it's political and it's religious and it's a long issue between Palestinian Muslims and Jews. And more than that, the media has brainwashed the public with this famous line that Israel keeps using when hundreds of children's bodies are buried. They use this line that it's Hamas is doing. They flip the narrative and make people believe that Hamas is firing rockets to Israelis and some rockets hit their own people and Israel has the right to defend itself. Let's use our common sense now. When there are hundreds of children's bodies, some disfigured due to the strikes, when there are babies who have many gunshot wounds to their tiny chests, when mothers are raped and fathers are thrown into prison for no reason, when soldiers bombard homes in the middle of the night, barging into homes, kicking people literally out of their homes so Zionists can walk right through, when Palestinians are denied basic human rights, yet Israelis are privileged with everything, when Palestinians drinking dirty brown water, and that's if the water was not shut off on them, when Palestinians are going through checkpoint after checkpoint, when parents have to divide their children into different homes in order to avoid the chance that a rocket will hit their home and kill all their kids at once, so at least this way their children will be scattered. Palestinians have no method to defend themselves while being beaten to death. Palestinians have to live with bombs, literally, picture it, bombs left and right. They do not know if they go outside to play if a rocket will erase their existence. And yet there are no bodies of Israelis being killed. And they keep using this, that it's Israelis have the right to defend themselves. Defend yourself from what? A 9-month-old baby? Americans need to wake up. We're giving $38 billion of our tax-paying dollars to kill these babies. If Jesus was alive today, he will cry for his followers. He will cry from them because no follower of Jesus will ever support Israel. And I'll end with this. And please say Amen. After I say the prayer, please say Amen. May God forgive us for being silent while Palestinians are being terrorized and killed. Amen. May God bring justice to the Palestinians and any oppressed person in the world, pour patience on their hearts. Amen. May God allow the Palestinian children to grow up with a childhood that doesn't involve US-made bombs and airstrikes. May God bring peace to the land that deserves peace. May God wake this world up to see the ethnic cleansing that's going on. Please, God, forgive us for being silent while these kids are dying left and right. And غصبٍ عنهم, Palestine will be free. غصبٍ عنهم.
All right. I got two more speakers. I need you all to stick with us. Stay around. Okay, so next up, we have Yane. Thank you. Please welcome her.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Not very long ago, some months ago, I was at a rally in support of Palestine, and when I was there, I said I hate Israel. And people said to me that I need to be careful what I say. And so what I'm saying right now is I hate Israel. Money isn't real, and Israel isn't real either. Shut that shit the fuck up. Sorry, but shut it down. Sorry. I apologize. I have a way that I'm used to speaking when I get fiery, and I feel very strongly about this because, as has been stated before, solidarity, there is no black liberation without Palestinian liberation. And we know that the Palestinians have been standing with us and have been standing with our fight, and we stand with Palestine. And I understand, when I say I hate Israel,
Almost. Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? My name is Rowan, but I'm going to be reading something my friend had wrote because unfortunately she felt very unsafe coming up here and speaking about it. So when we talk about spaces that are free and liberated for everybody, we must talk about misogyny and how men make it very, very, very unsafe for their sisters, their relatives to come up here and to speak. She should never have felt unsafe to come up here and say what she wanted to say. Okay. So, hi, my name is Emma. I'm Palestinian on my father's side and Miskogi indigenous on my mother's side. One of the most unforgettable things someone has ever said to me when I told them about my background was, so you're like hereditary homeless? I thought that was the most disrespectful, but probably the most accurate description of my own identity that I've ever heard. The truth is, we have land. The indigenous people of Turtle Island and Palestinians. But it's being occupied, stolen, colonized, just like they did here on Lenape territory and on the rest of Turtle Island. Palestinians experience displacement, surveillance, restriction of movement, police and military brutality, ethnic cleansings, checkpoints, appropriation, and genocide. My great-grandmother was sent to boarding school, and the only way she ended up there in Oklahoma was by the Trail of Tears. And the only reason my Palestinian grandmother lives in Jordan is because she was forced out of Palestine during the Nakba of 1967. Apartheid is a reality. To understand the indigenous struggle is to face the fact that Western imperialism has stripped us of our land. Capitalism and imperialism are the root cause of the occupation of both Palestinian and Turtle Island, Lenape, Hawking, and Philadelphia, and Columbia. Our solidarity must extend beyond our shared identities. It has to be rooted in our struggle for a better world for all Native people and for a free Palestine. Palestine حرة, احتلال برا برا. Free Palestine, free Palestine.
All right. All right, next up we have a member of the community, a Palestinian, Muhammad. All right, they can say something. Do you want to do it after?
Everybody, we have a prominent member of the Palestinian community, Mr. Muhammad Al-Hajj.
Assalamu alaikum. من قلب الصخر خرجنا، من دم الجرح النازف أتينا، من خيم المنافي عدنا، نحمل خنجرا، نقلع شوكا، نزرع وردا، نطرد مستعمرا، نبني دولة، بإذن الله الدولة قائمة. والحق لا بد من إشراك طلعته حتى ولو استجارت على أهله ظلماء. في البداية نترحم على شهدائنا الأبرار، ندعو لهم بالرحمة والمغفرة، ثم ندعو لجرحانا بالشفاء، وندعو لمعتقلينا بالإفراج العاجل القريب بإذنه تعالى. ونقول لحكومة صهيون: خسئتم ثم خسئتم ثم خسئتم، وخسئ رهانكم عندما راهنتم على هذا الجيل. كان الكل يعتقد بأن هذا جيل مغيب، كان الكل يعتقد بأن هذا الجيل لا يموت لفلسطين ولا يدور عن قضية فلسطين، ولكن أثبت هذا الجيل بأنه جيل الياسر، جيل الياسين، جيل الشقاقي، هو جيل التحرير، هو جيل المستقبل بإذنه تعالى. نقول للكيان: خسئت عندما تخطيت الحدود الحمر، عندما توجهت لقبلة المسلمين، عندما توجهت إلى المسجد الأقصى فالمسجد الأقصى قبلة المسلمين كلهم وليس قبلة الفلسطينيين. سأردد بعض العبارات وأرجو من الجميع أن نرددها سوية. على القدس رايحين شهداء بالملايين. على القدس رايحين شهداء بالملايين. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. والشاهد حبيب الله. والشاهد حبيب الله. وباب الأقصى من حديد ما بيفتحوا إلا الشهيد. زفوا الشاهد لا إمه والأقصى يسرب دمه. زفوا الشاهد لا إمه والأقصى يسرب دمه. ومن أمريكا أعلناها. من أمريكا أعلناها. وغزة نجمة سماها. غزة نجمة سماها. بارك الله فيكم والنصر للشهداء والمجد والخلود.
All right, y'all. All right, we got Muhammad saying a few words. Also, if you go to Haverford, I have your ID. Your name is Intimum. Haverford College. All right, I got it. Muhammad, go ahead.
How's everybody doing? Good? So I just wanted to come out for a second to speak directly to all of you, right? So oftentimes, whenever we see a big protest like this, the follow-up protest, I oftentimes hear people say something like, oh, we went out and protested and we still have a problem, Palestine's still being bombed. And I don't know if everyone understands this, but what we're doing right here is a grassroots tool to getting change. And that's our biggest weapon at this level, right? So if we really want change, if we really want to free Palestine, if we really want to end US funds going to Israel, we need consistency. So the following protest, I can already promise you, I don't mean to offend, by the way. I don't mean to talk in a condescending manner either. But the following protest, I can promise you, there's going to be 30 people here. The one after that, I want you to see, here's the thing, I want everyone to prove me wrong. Do it out of spite of me. Prove me wrong, and that's all I have for you guys. Thank you.
All right, kids want to say something?
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Killing kids, stop. Stop killing kids! 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 Free Palestine!
All right. All right, we're going to be closing it out. Suzanne is going to be giving us a word before we're done.
All right, thanks everybody for sticking around. I just want to point out and go back to the media theme. Remember last year or whenever it was when the whole media was quoting Jared Kushner and he said that everybody's forgotten about the Palestinians, nobody cares. This is a new era of normalization with Arab countries. Y'all remember that? Well, they found themselves a couple of Arab houseboys to normalize with Israel, and they underestimated us. This is what colonizers always do. They always underestimate the humanity of the people they oppress. They have underestimated the fire that burns in us for Palestine, for freedom, and for liberty. Now, people in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Syria, have been storming the borders trying to get into Palestine. People in France have removed the Israeli flag off the embassy and burned it. People in cities all over the world. Palestine is a global issue. But I want you all the Palestinians here, I want you all to please pay attention to the solidarity and where it's coming from. It is coming from black and brown people. It ain't coming from the ruling class. It ain't coming from white folks. Well, at least ruling class white folks, let me just say that. It ain't coming from European countries. It's coming from African countries. It's coming from South American countries. It is coming from the people. And I want you guys to understand where our solidarity is coming from and who we need to talk to, who our friends are in the world. We always try and convince white America of our humanity. We have this conversation with the world that we are human too. They don't care. They're not our friends. They don't care about us. They view us with contempt and they hate us. They want to see us gone. But we have friends, and I want you to pay attention to who our friends are, and I want to beg you to show up for them like they show up for us. I love you all. We love each other. Love each other. Love the oppressed. Love the prisoners.
We have food and drinks.
All right. Some really generous people. Food Not Bombs. That's another amazing organization in Philly. They just brought y'all some food and they're feeding everybody free of charge. Food Not Bombs, y'all remember that name.
All right, we have a word from Afghanistan. Those of you that want to go, you can go. Those of you that want to stick around, you can stick around. We have a word from Afghanistan.
My dear brothers and sisters, being an Afghan American, I'd like to tell you that we have seen the worst kind of oppression in the world, and I would like to tell you guys from all Afghan sides that is here with the people of Palestine. We will support you. We school our sons, our kids against on the oppression of Palestine. I just want to let you know that all the people of Afghanistan and all the people of Pashtun pride in Pakistan are with you guys, and we will extend your support from our side. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free!
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have a poem for you. والله لا ننسى مسجدنا الأقصى وقبة الصخرة تبكي من الحسرة تقول يا ربا يا واهب الحياة بعونك اللهم اكتب لنا النصر وشجرة الزيتون بغصنه الحنون تبكي عن الشهداء أرضنا الحرة يا لوعة النفس عليك يا قدسي
أنت في البلوى وعيشة المرة. يا إخوة الإسلام سيروا إلى الأمام بالعزم والإقدام بصحبة القرآن. هيا اهتفوا يا إخوتي، استيقظي يا أمتي، النور في أيدينا، قرآننا يحمينا في ساحة الإيمان. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you so much.
Can you guys hear me? Assalamu alaikum. I wrote this real quick over there, so I'm sorry if it's bad. I visited Palestine in the summer when I was 7 years old. I remember going to the border and being segregated because of my race. What was that?
Free Palestine.
Can you imagine?
Yes, but I've never understood.
يلا محمود بنشوفك.